Hi, this is Kevin Smith with the IT Transformation Institute, and this is Chapter 3 in our series on world-class IT service management. Today's chapter is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about one of the process areas that are central to IT service management. Throughout these chapters, we'll have some that focus on strategy, and some that focus more on concepts, and some that are more detailed, because the processes of IT service management are important, and this is going to be one of those. This is going to be on incident management. This is going to be a high-level overview because we could spend a lot of time on incident management, but we do have additional resources that can help you. We'll give you that high-level overview today, give you some things to think about, and then if you want more detail, you can reference my book. The book is on the IT Transformation Institute website. I wrote a book called The Practical Guide to World-Class IT Service Management, and I have a whole chapter on incident management with lots of detail. The other thing is that we offer training classes. We have virtual classroom instructor-led classes. One of those is on incident. You can find that on our training calendar. And we also do in-person instructor-led training on site. So those are some great options for you. But the key that everybody needs to remember is, though incident may not be considered sexy, it may not get the headlines, is that great IT service management starts with great incident management.
It was 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long, caught somewhere between a boy.
The first area I want to look at today on incident management is to have a well-defined process. There's not just one way to do incident management, and great ITSM teams do this a little bit differently depending on the size of your organization, depending on the size of IT, depending on your industry, depending on your location. But the key is to have a well-defined process. And then once you have that process defined, document it and then share it widely, because you want people to understand what it is. This will help you manage expectations. This will help you communicate with IT and with the business. Then consider this to be a living thing. The business is going to change over time. IT is going to change over time. So you want to learn from those changes and adapt to them, and then make updates as necessary to that incident management process. This is a very healthy best practice that the best IT organizations take advantage of, and that process never really stops. You're never going to get to the point where you have incident management perfect and you don't need to change it. So I want to give you an example of a model. We don't have time today in the scope of this video to go through the model, but I'm going to, at the end of this segment, I'll put up an example of an incident management workflow or business process. I'm taking that from my book that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, just as one reference. It's not going to be perfect for everybody, but that model gives most ITSM teams about 80 to 90% of what they need to design an incident management process. So I think that will help.
She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan.
The next area I want to focus on for this chapter on incident management is to really put an emphasis on communication. A lot of the customer experience in incident management, when it suffers, when people are unhappy with the incident management response, whether that be an employee or a customer, has to do with just not knowing what's going on. We don't always do a great job of communicating the progress that's being made against an incident. And realize when an incident occurs, it means that a service or an asset or the infrastructure is not performing the way it should be performing, and that's impacting somebody doing their job. It could be impacting a customer, an external customer or client. And so that communication is really, really important. And so think in terms of, it's not just about process. The process has to be good, of course, but as we're executing the process, some incidents can take a few hours to resolve, some may take days, some may take weeks. We need to be communicating and updating the affected parties on exactly what the status is. And that makes a huge difference. There are probably more issues with lack of communication in an incident process than there are with the incident process itself. And it hasn't always been an area that we emphasize, so that needs to be a new emphasis. And think in terms of very simple, frequent updates. These don't need to be big, extensive communications. They could just be very quick. Hey, just to confirm we're still working on your incident. We got this step of the process completed today. We're now starting to work on this step of the process. It makes a huge difference in how the customer experience is created, how a great customer service experience is created, and it makes a big difference, frankly, on how IT is perceived throughout the organization.
Splashing through the sandbar, talking by the campfire. It's the simple things in life, like when and where.
The next area we want to look at for this chapter on incident management is to create an automation roadmap. Now let's think about this for a minute. Automation, we all know, is an increasingly important part of IT, and it clearly has a place in incident management because incident processes tend to be very repeatable. They tend to be well understood. That makes them a good candidate for automation. But many organizations know they need to automate, but don't have a specific plan for automating. That's very important. So what I encourage you to do is to think in terms of a 3 to 5 year horizon. Yours might be a little bit different, but that's a good goal to have. And then to set a goal of 90% automated. Incident management needs to become a highly automated process for many reasons. It makes it more repeatable. It makes it more consistent. It streamlines our costs. It makes it available 7/24. All these things are broader goals that we need to accomplish, and we can do that with automation. So create a 3 to 5 year roadmap, lay out specific milestones for what can be automated in that incident management process that we talked about earlier, that incident response process. So you've defined that now. Now you need to figure out how to automate it, and you can do that a little bit at a time, one step at a time, with a goal of 90%. Some organizations won't quite get there in 5 years. Some organizations will get higher than 90%. But really, if you think about it, as we transform IT, and ITSM transforms as well, we're going to get very close to 100% automated in that 5 to 10 year window. So it needs to start with the next few years, this 3 to 5 year horizon, and in having a specific plan for how we can start to automate incident management.
We didn't have no internet, but man, I never will forget the way the moonlight shined upon her head.
Now let's look at escalations. Escalations are a normal part of an incident management process. Escalations occur when there's a significant impact to the business. It could be a strategic customer that's being impacted. It could be regarding an SLA, the terms of an SLA. But where we have incidents, and we have them in every service desk and help desk and ITSM organization, we have to have a plan for escalations. And the key here is have a specific process defined for escalations. We can't just wing it, and less I think that occurs, although it still occurs sometimes. But let's get ahead of that issue, and let's make sure that everybody knows exactly how escalations are done. Let's make sure that we're really good at escalations, because if we are escalating an incident, we know by definition there's something significant going on. Again, impact to a customer, impact to the business, something. The risk is worthy of our attention. So have that process defined, make sure everybody knows exactly what we do when we escalate an incident. And then the other thing to think about is have resources in the organization that we tap into when escalations occur. These can be experts in specific areas. These can be people with unique areas of experience or unique domain expertise. And let's tap into those people and let's make sure they're on standby. We won't need them every day in the course of managing normal incidents, but when we escalate, let's rally around that. Let's create some focus on it. Let's have this extended team that we tap into, this team of experts or these escalation resources. And then let's create incentives around that, because by definition, if we're working on an incident, an escalation of an incident, it's important. And so let's create some incentives so everybody is highly motivated, not that they're not already highly motivated, but give them a little extra incentive to get this escalation resolved quickly.
Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. Catching walleye from the dock, watching
I hope those 4 short discussions on incident management were helpful. And it's very important to remember that world-class IT service management is not just about strategy. Yes, strategy is very important, and we're going to have strategy chapters throughout this series, but it's also about the fundamentals and executing the details well every day and striking the right balance between strategy and fundamentals. Remember to take advantage of our resources. If you have an appetite for more detail on incident management, that's fantastic. Check out our book on the Books tab on the IT Transformation Institute website, or take advantage of our virtual training, which is a great resource, or our in-person training. For some of you, that may make a lot of sense. And remember that back to this point of the fundamentals is that great ITSM starts with great fundamentals, and when we're doing the fundamentals well, that starts with great incident management. As always, thanks for listening, and let's make IT great.